Hello, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me again for another video where we talk about books. If you're new here, hi, my name is Cece. I am really excited to look into my worst reads of 2021. If you have not seen my favorite book of 2021, you are probably wondering what this is. I'm really bad at making these videos. I was recently asked, hey, are you going to release your favorites of 2021 yet? Are you going to release your worst of 2021 yet? And I was like, I wasn't planning on making a video as such because I'm overwhelmed with looking at 200 books, and I'm usually very biased towards what I've read quite recently because I am very emotionally tied to the stories. Going through 200 books that I've read in 2021 just feels like, so much. So then I have seen on a channel, and I'm gonna link that video down below, where somebody has done this like bracket game sort of thing, where for every month in the year they pick the winner and then they battle it out. Then you have 3 finalists and those 3 battle it out. All right, let's grab our little Goodreads list. Start with January. All right, let's just start. All right, let's go in January. So 3-star is the worst, which is not a bad rating. So we're already struggling with this. Marina, I just couldn't connect as it was the wrong book for me. Children of War, I had a few issues with. I remember that, but I don't remember exactly. Wake, I remember ranting, but I don't remember why. But I have a rant video, so that's good. Some Danger Involved, I couldn't connect to this at all. Foundation, I was disappointed with Foundation. I had expected a lot more. Same with These Violent Delights. It just was a different book than I thought it would be. It's just not for me. But I think in this case it's gonna go for Wake. I remember ranting about it and Wake having some issues, but honestly, if you want to have the full picture, I'm going to try and link my video where I talk about Wake and why I needed to rant about it. Let's look at February. Death in the Park. Ooh, the evolution of Mara Dyer is definitely worse than Death in the Park. And we're still with like 3-star books. We're not like really bad books. I really didn't like the Monthly Girls manga because I thought I'm not the right target audience. The Secret Diary of an Arranged Marriage did have its moments. It had its moments. Ooh, Eternal. I did have some issues with Eternal, and I think that's it. I had some issues with Eternal, it was so blah, but the evolution of Mara Dyer was really disappointing. I just remember being so bored, and maybe, again, I'm not the target audience, but I remember ending up DNFing that series because I was so incredibly bored, and there were some issues with the characters that I think basically the worst thing was that I was bored. All right, March. Bread Givers. What was my problem? Bishop's Honor. With Bishop's Honor, I can recommend you Mel's worst books of 2021 video. I'm gonna link it as well. She sums up what's wrong with it. I think that Bishop's Honor I was really excited to read, and it had a really good premise, and I felt like it had a lot of like survival moments where in this place where we have this climate catastrophe and we all of a sudden have like an ice age. We're following this family who is super surprised by this happening, so they're not prepared, and I loved the dynamic there. But then they just added an element that just made this it just felt like a weird action movie all of a sudden, like a James Bond movie in the snow. And I was just super confused by the turn it took. It was a completely different book all of a sudden, and not for the better. Das Haus der Frauen, what was the English name for it? The House of Women? I don't know. But that was really bad. The Foxhole Court was bad as well. Well, not really bad, otherwise it would have been a 1-star, but bad enough to talk about it actually being worth being on this list. So I think it's probably gonna go to the House of Women. There were quite a few issues with the Foxhole Court, and I do have a wrap-up, and I do have a whole discussion on the series, on that book, as part of my Free Book Friday series, because it's a free ebook that's available without any subscriptions, etc., on different platforms such as Amazon. So not Kindle Unlimited, it's just free. And I had issues with it. I had big issues, but I had more issues with Das Haus der Frauen. And I'm not sure what the English title is, or if there's an English translation. I think the original was written in French. And my problem with it was that pretty much the premise was we're looking at where we have these two timelines. We're looking in the past, which was probably the more interesting part for me, where a woman has built a place where women can go who need support, who are lost. And those are obviously always women with very, very different stories. And we're in the now, where a lawyer just needs to reset her life and goes into this place to work off a few like social hours. And as a lawyer, she goes in there to support these women with writing documents. And it's a great premise to tell some of these stories that these women bring. But the way that was done was so weird. She turns out to be not helping them with real documents that might be complicated. She starts writing very personal letters that even don't make sense for somebody else to write, or even then. Like, for example, one woman who fled her country and had to leave her son is now writing a letter to her son. But language? Totally weird. Like, she can't write it because she can't write in this language, but then her son can read in this language. And it was just so, okay, now this story, now this story, now this story. And it was just so brushed over that we're not really getting to this emotional connection. And then there were just some weird things where I'm like, that doesn't make sense. So I think I have, I'm not sure if I have a review on my channel. I wrote a review because it was a review sample that I got in German. But yeah, I had issues, and that's definitely the worst book of the month, Haus der Frauen. Let's move on to April. All right, April. Before Beauty. Oh, I don't remember why this was bad, but I remember that it was quite ugh. I don't remember anything about Chobits and why I rated this so low. Okay. Since I don't remember Chobits. Oh, was that the robot one? Which just was weird in my eyes. But Before Beauty, I'm pretty sure that I have a... Did I end up filming it or did I not end up filming it? It was for my Free Book Friday series as well. And I think Before Beauty just had several issues. It felt rushed and it felt like it needed an editor. But I don't fully remember. That's the issue with this video and why I usually don't make this video. But I did enjoy it. All right, so... let's battle this out. Wake versus the Evolution of Mara Dyer. Wake. Because I honestly rented. I don't remember all the details, but I remember feeling emotionally like, no, 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 I have to rent. And Evolution of Mara Dyer just was boring and there were some issues. And it's similarly here. If I don't remember what's wrong, or the full picture of what was wrong, it cannot have been that bad. So Haus der Frauen was definitely worse. And I think out of these two, actually Haus der Frauen takes the win, sadly, because I was more disappointed with this one. I expected more. All right, we have our first finalist, Haus der Frauen. Let's go for May. Okay, in May I read Archibald Logs, which I also read for the Free Book Friday. I don't think I ended up filming it with Connor. We just were both disappointed, and I was starting to be over this series. In Free Book Friday, I was trying to find good free books to show that you don't need money to read good books, but honestly, I didn't find much. And I was starting to be over the series at that point. It looks like everything else in May was really good. It was a really good reading month. I was a little bit disappointed with the 12 days of book club mess, and it took me a very long time to read. A Blessed Olive Tree with the 3 out of 5 stars also is a little bit... I had some issues with it, but it's a very religious book, and for what it is okay. So I think this one, Archibald Locks, is taking the win. Although I don't, again, fully remember all my problems. I just remember that there were some inconsistencies and some rushed. And I think potentially with an editor looking over those things, this could have been a lot better and a good start. But the way it was done, it was not. It just was not. There were too many things that was just weird. Let's move on to June. I feel like this video worked a lot better with the best ones because I remember a lot more. The Book of Night Women, I remember not connecting. We Are Not Free was not my style. It just felt disconnected. My lowest rated Brandon Sanderson. Ooh, A House in the Country was really bad. Oh, no. The Purpose Guided Universe. Okay, that was really bad. Okay, I completely forgot, but the Purpose Guided Universe, oh my god, like, oh no. When you're trying to prove something with a scientific approach, such as why God exists, actually need to go and do a scientific approach. The scientific approach would be to disprove it and therefore proving it. What we see here is making assumptions, declaring this assumption as a fact, and because this is a fact, therefore the follow-up is also a fact. See what I'm saying? So this is pseudo science. It ticks me off. There were a few things that I found harmful. I know that I read it on live shows where I was renting. I don't know if I ended up recording a wrap-up because I got emotionally invested in how bad it was and how there were a few lines that were harmful. Do I still have that book? I don't think anybody would have wanted to buy it. I probably have marked some of the bad areas. Well, it's not on my for sale pile. It might be in the garage because I don't think that I'm going to be able to sell it because nobody wants that shit. All right, let's move on to July. Oh, July was a really bad reading month and Interfaces was the worst, but it wasn't really bad. Interfaces was a book that I read for a book tour organized by Eric, and it's not bad. I had some issues with it. And I made a whole video on just Interfaces because it was for a book tour. Speaking about my issues with it, but I don't think it's on even slightly the same level as some of the other books on this list. So yeah, but it's the worst one out of July. So August. 4 star, 4 star, 4 star, 5 star, 4 star, 3 stars. The Member of a Wedding, Love is a Revolution. Pet, I gave Pet a 3 star. I must have been in a bad mood. I Am Elephant, I Am Butterfly. Stop. If you ever wanted to, like, you need to read my review that I posted on Goodreads. I Am Elephant, I Am Butterfly is so bad. I got emotionally invested in it being bad and how harmful it is and how bad it is. And I wrote it all out and I'm still angry because there's so much wrong with it. Starting from like some slightly harmful things like, oh look, there's some Mexicans on a poster, but they all look skinny. How can they be skinny with like eating all these tamales and enchiladas or something, or burritos? Like, what? So basically the premise of I Am Elephant, I Am Butterfly is a young adult contemporary mental health story where we're following a person who is morbidly obese. I think she was mentioned as 275 pounds or something, or around that area, as a teenager, and she's being sent to fat camp. which is called Camp Kawawa or something. Basically, the word means elephant, and she doesn't want to go there. And what really irked me, and what really, aside from some of these like weird notions, aside from that poster and that sentence about Mexicans, I think there was just a few weird things how people of color were painted in this book. But basically the worst thing about it was just how this morbidly obese teenager was painted, and it just felt like it was written so judgmental. None of the issues that somebody who is morbidly obese were picked up on. Just imagine a kid of that size going into a fat camp and being like, what, I need to exercise here? Oh, I didn't expect this. I'm like, you're going to fat camp? What do you expect? And yes, I know fat camp is not what it's really called, but let's be honest, that's what people feel like it is. And they do exercises like monkey bars. And I'm like, do you really put 300-pound kids and put them through monkey bars? Have you ever tried holding 300 pounds or doing monkey bars while you are dangling with 300 pounds? This is something that only somebody who has never experienced being fat can come up with. And then moments like, ooh, and then I was trying the hula hoop, but I only got it up to my knee. What? We're in a fat camp, and the exercise you're preparing for the kids is not working for fat kids. There were so many judgmental things. And from the narrator of the fat kid's perspective. So this girl was saying, had no personality aside from food. There were hints towards like, I would think about food. I would draw food in the shower on like the damp shower. I want to be home with my best friends, McDonald's and Dairy Queen or whatever she mentioned. Like painting her best friends, saying fast food chains are her best friends, and she would consider everyone, like the word whale was used so often in how she described people, or whale like grace. All the people in the fat camp she would only describe by their name, their weight. Everybody's just a number, their weight, and then potentially their ethnicity. Just so many bad things. I was very convinced the person who wrote this never ever had a pound too much in their life. Like just doing exercise and having to bow down and being like, oh, I can only get down to my knees when I bow down because I'm out of shape. There were a few moments where the coaches said the right thing, but none of what they did in this camp showed the right thing. They were breaking these kids. And they were breaking these kids, and then they are sending them out alone without supervision to think, meditate. You really think that's a good idea to break kids and then leave them alone? This is like a recipe for suicide, what they're doing there. And I don't know, they're embarrassing them, humiliating them, torturing them. It felt like I'm watching The Biggest Loser. And I'm pretty sure that the author got their inspiration for this camp from The Biggest Loser, and potentially some like, there's a word in German called Schadenfreude, which is the joy of when others are hurt. And I know that a lot of people who are skinny or who also have been bigger and have successfully dieted, there's this weird anger towards fat people that we wish upon them to just live off of veggies and having to exercise. We wish them, humans are evil, and humans secretly often wish for these things. And there's like this anger in a lot of people where like, I wish they would just eat veggies. Like, I don't know what the right wording is, but people are satisfied with seeing other people suffer through this kind of thing. I think that's one of the reasons why The Biggest Loser is so successful. One of the biggest things that blew my mind was in the very beginning, the kids are entering the camp, they're probably at their most vulnerable, at their most scared, questioning, am I going to be able to survive this? Am I going to be able to do this? This is going to be really tough. What is the food situation going to be like? What is the exercise situation going to be like? Am I going to be able to pull through? And then they're paraded next to like their families who have dropped them off, and the families are getting food, and they're getting mashed potatoes and gravy and meatloaf and huge portions, and the kids are like, oh good, okay, we're gonna be okay. The food is normal. It's not some weird like food. So they're seeing their family eat that, and then they come into the cafeteria, and all they're getting is cooked veg. So they can decide between, hey, do you want a scoop of corn, or do you want a scoop of green beans, or do you want a scoop of cooked spinach? And the reasoning behind it is, hey, we want to show you all the nice vegetables that we have in our garden. What? First of all, what you're giving them is not a nutritionally balanced meal. It's not a good example. You're pushing them towards other opposite of an eating disorder if you're going to make them eat this without healthy fats, without a few carbs. It was like one torture after another. And then they meet people from Camp Felina, which all like, just by the sound of it, it's a different. And the way that the people are described from that camp is so much more descriptive about their body in a positive way. I think what this book does quite well is break down the barrier of, hey, as a skinny person, I'm not just pretty, I might have problems too. That's not what I read this for. The core of my issue is that we're not talking about food as a disorder. We're not talking about an eating disorder. They just have their wow-wows and thinking about stuff and having their like circles, but they're not acknowledging eating disorder as a disorder. And all it comes down to is that we're all of a sudden trying to make a point that every single person who is obese has suffered from abuse, emotionally or physical, but every person has suffered from abuse. And the only thing that you need to do is acknowledge and work on that abuse. And once you have admitted to yourself that this abuse happened and that you have to emotionally and mentally work on this abuse, then your pounds will just go away like magically. Please, even if you see this and if you agree with me, please leave a comment under this review. I don't understand why this book is getting so many raving good reviews. I'm just wondering, are all the people reading this skinny? Because I just cannot see a person who has suffered from being obese reading this book and feeling represented. I just can't see it. So Archibald Locks versus the Purpose Guided Universe, very clearly the Purpose Guided Universe. Not even a question. I am elephant, I am butterfly wins against Interfaces. Both of those probably would be finalists. These could potentially be the two worst books I read in the year. I think both are really bad and should not exist. But I Am Elephant takes the win. Let's go into round 3. We are in September. What have we read in September? 44542. Animal Staubchronik. Okay, that was a little Instagrammatic. Oh my god, that was so bad. Instagrammatic. But Instagrammatic, actually, I finished that in October. Staubchronik. I just was so super bored. The characters were super bland. It's like a historical fiction and it plays in an era that I'm super not interested in, and it has romance left and right, and just it's following one of the tropes that I immediately hate the book, is when you have a character that is being told as, you have a very strong woman character here, but this woman character never really is strong. She's just annoying and has a foul mouth, but there's nothing strong about her. She's just a brat. And that kind of is the feeling that I got from this one, and she felt so superior, and I was so annoyed by this book. Also, I think it's only available in German, thank God. And then in October, Instagrammatic, again, a German book. Wonder why I don't read much German, huh? Anything else that was not good? Fowler's Fair, I was disappointed by. After loving Macbeth so much, I was really disappointed. But that's it. October was not a strong reading month. So Instagrammatic, 2 German books. Instagrammatic is written by a German comedian, and I love his stand-up comedy. He is a German teacher, and his comedy is a lot about school, and it's hilarious. I love him as a comedian. He's just not a good writer. And basically the premise of this book is how he is like this old grumpy analog teacher, and you get this new director into the school who wants to bring the school into the digital age. And I think that the author thought that he was describing this charming old guy who is a little bit grumpy and who is challenged with technology, but it's not funny. He just comes across as this annoying person who makes fun of every change that's going to come into the school, and he just looks really bad at it. November, we're almost done. Home stretch. Peter Darling was a 2-star. Spectrum Women was a 3-star. I had a lot of issues with Spectrum Women as well. Okay, so Spectrum Women first versus Peter Darling. So Peter Darling is a Peter Pan retelling, and we have a romance between, spoilers, between Hook and Peter, and that is so bad. We have a childlike person who acts like a child, and this whole relationship irks me so much. It is so bad. It just read like really bad fan fiction. Maybe because I don't like fan fiction overall. But then with Spectrum Women, I rated it higher than Peter Darling, but I think it might be worse because of the intention that Spectrum Women had and what it's achieving. It's kind of making it worse. And I'm pretty sure I have a wrap-up about Spectrum Women online as well. But basically we have a collection of short stories written by women who are autistic and who want to talk about their experience of being diagnosed, and they're talking about struggles of getting the diagnosis late and a lot of things around this. And I have not looked into this topic a lot as of yet. I want to learn about this topic. It's a new to me topic. So I want to read a lot more and learn a lot more to gain understanding for it. And I felt what better way of learning than reading from people who have experienced it and who can talk. It is own voices and everything. So I don't have an issue with this part at all. I think what it tried to achieve was really good and really important. But the issue that I had is that we have, I think, 12 people who wrote in this book. They're all not writers, obviously. So maybe an editor could have helped them be a little bit more eloquent. That could have elevated the whole thing. But what they did instead is after each chapter that an autistic woman wrote about their experience, you had a doctor write about it, and they pretty much summarized the whole story and validated their experience, and this ticked me off. I don't need a doctor to validate an own voices experience. If you know about a good book to learn more about autism, please give me recommendations. I do want to dive more into this topic. That just was not it. All right, let's go for the last one. December. Bücherliebe. Again, I read the German version, but I think the English version was called Shelf Love. The Mountains Sing. It was very boring and disappointing, but I think The Mountains Sing were simply boring, but Shelf Love was not what it promised to be. Well, the German title said Book Love. What your way of arranging shelves tells about you. And I was expecting a little bit more of like psychology, maybe a little BuzzFeedy, but more of a psychology around how arranging bookshelves, like what it actually tells us about our personality. But that wasn't even touched on. This is a book that could be given as a gift to a book lover. It has some lists. It has some, hey, these are the top 5 books. These are the top books that Obama recommended. These are the books that were found in Bin Laden's hideout. These are the they had something like the top or the weirdest 1-star reviews to classics. They had a lot of lists and fun information, but none of the information actually was informative for my liking. And the tagline that drew me in, they just told us about different ways of arranging books. Like, okay. All right, last round is almost over. So Staubkolonien against Instagrammatic by far. Spectrum Women against Shelf Love. Spectrum Women, because it set out to do something really good, but was sadly not doing that, and Shelf Love was just not what I expected. Instagrammatic against Spectrum Women. I was annoyed. I was angry. Anger wins. Spectrum Women. So we have our finalists. Our finalist for the worst book of 2021 is Haus der Frauen. Let me finally see if I see Swedish, Spanish, Italian, French, German, but no English. That's interesting. That's a first. So we have Spectrum Women, I Am Elephant, I Am Butterfly, and Das Haus der Frauen. I'm eliminating this one right off the bat because it did have some problems, but it wasn't something that I was emotional about, something being wrong with the book, which is something that I had with I Am Elephant, I Am Butterfly, and that I had with Spectrum Women. With Spectrum Women, I was disappointed, but the story still had information that was really good. And it just wasn't presented in a way that I enjoyed, and the wrapping was bad. Whilst I Am Elephant, I Am Butterfly is harmful and bad. So the clear winner, the worst book of 2021 is I Am Elephant, I Am Butterfly. Go read my Goodreads review and leave a comment under this. Let me know what your worst book of the year is, and let me know what you think. And yeah, please go and check out the Goodreads review and write something, because I don't understand why this book has so many good reviews. I don't know what's happening. Help me out here. Help my sanity. Please help my sanity. All right. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you again real soon. Until then, bye.
Just loving this moment.